I got so excited that I cut the video off. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. So we're gonna go right back into it. So today's video is called "No Harvest, No Conflict, No Harvest," and it came to me from a T.D. Jakes quote that he was in the middle of a sermon, and I was like, wow, it hit me, and I had to get up and go do a video on it because it was so powerful. So obviously here with the Beta Project, I'm DeMarcus Tunstall. You'll see my face here in a minute. And for those of you can always watch me on YouTube at Humble and Focus, feel free to follow me. I love it. Thank you very much. So we're going to go to today's quote. To starting, it's going to be "Conflict cannot survive without your participation" by Wayne Dyer. And now this quote's going to go, it's not going to go how you think it's going to go. This video is going to be a little bit different than you think it's going to be, because that quote and the title are conflicting in itself. So we're going to go ahead and get something done here. So I hope you ladies, I hope you gentlemen, I hope everybody on here is ready. So let's go ahead and get it started here. Let me not hit the wrong button today. Hey, how's it going? This is your guy DeMarcus. I appreciate you being here today. All right, so no conflict, no harvest. So the reason that this was so important to me is that one of the things that we strive for in life is peace. And we strive to be comfortable. We strive to have everything the way we want it. Hooray, hooray, hurrah, hurrah, right? But without conflict, there is no harvest. And so I don't know if I'm gonna bring this up, but I'm gonna read this to you. So I did a definition of the word harvest for the dictionary, and it's the process or period of gathering in crops, gathering in the crops. And so I want you to think about, now let's start about the crops. The crops are going to be the results that you have and that you receive from the fact that you're harvesting something in your life. So you cannot get crops without harvesting, because here's the thing about it. The harvest will be here. Sorry, the crops will be here, but without harvesting, all they're going to do is stay on the vine until they disappear and they're no longer an option. In other words, your opportunities start to disappear because you didn't harvest your opportunities. But the problem is, to get the harvest, to get the crops in that order, you must first have conflict. So I want you to think about crops as a whole, right? So I want you to think about crops. Crops start off as a seed. First thing that has to happen is you got to plant a seed. But to get that seed to grow, there's a couple things you have to do, and it involves conflict. To get that seed to grow, you've got to get it into the ground, okay? Which means you've got to break up this hard piece of earth. And inside of breaking up this hard piece of earth, you must actually plant your seed. But you can't plant your seed if you can't break the earth down to get your seed inside of there. So the first part of this conflict is that you've got to break down what you used to know. You've got to be able to break the earth because it's a necessity. Let me get this quote. It's one of my quotes that's been on the wall. Some of you may have read it, some of you may not. So this quote is as simple as this. If you're too lazy to plow, hold on. If you're too lazy to plow, don't expect a harvest. Well, you know what plowing is? Plowing means you're breaking up the ground to be able to put seeds in there so that you can plant. So if you're too lazy to plow, then you shouldn't be expecting a harvest in the first place. So I want you to think about this. You're not willing to plow. Oh, that's wrong. I'll fix it later. Oh well. So you're not willing to plow, which means you're not willing to break up the earth. That means the seed can't get in there to take root, okay? Now, take root. Obviously, the seed's planted. Now, the next thing that happens, the seed's planted and you pack the dirt around it. So now, you've broken up, you started conflict, you broke up the ground. Now the seed is planted. Now, when the seed is planted and it is the right conditions are there, what does the seed do next? The seed starts to open up. It starts to grow and sprout these roots. So not only did the seed have to get conflict, okay, everything's right, everything's good. The seed got conflict, so it broke forward. And now the roots that it has is now moving the earth out of its way so it can plant itself into what it's supposed to be. More conflict, right? So now we've broken the ground to get our framework. We've broken our framework, and that ground represents things that we knew to be true. And things we know to be 100% true. You've got to break that up to plant. You can't plant on ground that cannot be broken, because you cannot have seeds you'll have seeds that will not take root, or a bird will come by, swoop it up and grab it, or it'll blow away in the wind. But if you want it to be safe, if you want your seed that you are planting to be safe, you got to break that ground up. So now we've broken the ground, conflict. The seed starts to open up with the right conditions, conflict, because it's opening up on itself, and it's sprouting out those roots and moving earth out of the way to change the landscape, conflict. And then it starts to grow up. For a seed to become, we'll say corn, for a seed to become corn, it must break through the ground. And as it breaks through the ground, this, if you don't think about it, so now you planted a seed and you smooth the ground is flat now. Now the seed is breaking through the ground, which means there's more conflict. So you see what I'm saying? Like, conflict is necessary for a harvest. No conflict, no harvest. So now the seed is breaking through and growing, and it goes from being a stalk to breaking out leaves, conflict. And then eventually the leaves themselves break into kernels, and it's all conflict. The whole idea behind this planting and behind gardening and growing plants is the fact that you must have conflict the whole way through the process. So now let's go back to the beginning slide. Remember, I told you it wasn't going to go the way you thought it was. Conflict cannot survive without your participation. You had to start it off by breaking up the ground. That's your ground that you broke up to plant that seed. The water is either coming from the rain or you're going to water it yourself. You're going to have to tend to this garden to make sure that your garden goes where you want it to go, so you can produce the fruits and all the labors that you want by participating, right? So conflict cannot survive without your participation, and you need conflict for the harvest. So in other words, the harvest cannot the harvest will not exist without you. The harvest will not exist without you. The harvest will not be able to happen without you stepping up and doing your part to get the harvest to grow to where it needs to be. The harvest cannot exist. The crops cannot exist without you. That's so big, ladies and gentlemen. The conflict needs your participation. No conflict, no harvest. Therefore, if you don't participate, there is no harvest to eat. Everybody's comfortable. That means they're not participating, because when you're comfortable, you're not doing what is necessary to create the harvest. You see what I'm saying? You follow me here? So I got some examples up on my board here. So we talked about the life of planting it growing, groundbreaking. You got to break the ground. You got to break the ground going in, and you got to break the ground growing up to put a seed there. To put a plant there, something strong. Even a tree starts out as a seed, but it must go into the ground to become this mighty oak tree that's going to stand the test of time. So, a couple examples of conflict. A weightlifter, weightlifting. You want to lose weight, you want to weightlift, you want bigger muscles, you want to lift more weight, etc., right? You must have conflict in the muscles. These, gotta have conflict in them. Got it right here, gotta have conflict in those. The muscles must tear, micro tears, for it to build the strength up to handle the weight that you're giving it right now. You see what I'm saying? Conflict, right? So the conflict in itself is that you must harvest, you must plant the seed, but you must rip those muscles so you can harvest the power. Your finances, right? Okay, we're gonna go some places. Your finances. You must get uncomfortable. You must get uncomfortable to make moves to get that to work for you. You get what I'm saying? A new job, you have to remove. You must be in conflict with the old job. You must get rid of the old job for the new job to take root. Intelligence, you must battle the ignorance that you once had about a subject for the new knowledge and growth to take root. Financial freedom. This was huge. This is the one people don't see. The new one, okay? So you must battle your previous teachings about jobs and money and the way things are actually working and the way things are actually going in society. You must battle your previous education and get new education to realize that the only way for you to be financially free is to not do things the way you've been trained to do it for your whole life. You get what I'm saying here? So I've defined harvest for you. It's about gathering the crops, right? So here's what I want you to think about. I've already told you conflict cannot survive without your participation. Now that means bad. Obviously, if you have bad things going on, it cannot survive without your participation, which means that you can get rid of all the negative things in your life by not participating in them. But also the things that you need in life, the conflict you need in life to grow, cannot survive without your participation. And if there's no conflict because you're not participating, then there's no harvest, right? But here's two more quotes that I really want you to think about here. The harvest does not reside on the same level that the conflict was initiated. When the conflict was started, that started the process, but as the plant grew, that conflict that started that beginning will not be the same that grows that plant. So when you're harvesting, that conflict is at the beginning, the harvest is at the end. You cannot have that same conflict and that same harvest in the same level. It's two different time frames. The conflict starts it, the harvest is at the end when we're actually knocking down the plant to provide. You get what I'm saying? The conflict and the harvest are not on the same level. One does, one's a before, one's an after, but they are not at the same level. Okay? And number two, the harvest is dependent on the conflict. There is no harvest without any conflict. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what I have for you today. I hope you got something from this. This one really sat in my heart because we often view conflict as being bad. But you know what? In all reality, negative conflict is bad, but there is positive conflict too. The battle within yourself to get a better you. The battle within yourself to get a stronger, fitter you. The battle within yourself to be more financially free and able to take care of things without having to worry about it. All these things require conflict. And the conflict is to attack what is comfortable. What is comfortable must be attacked. You must break up the ground to plant your seed for it to grow. Okay? That's what I have for you, ladies and gentlemen. I really hope you got something from this. And I'm going to show you this last video. I always do that. The last quote here. And the harder the conflict, the more glorious the triumph. By triumph, you could say more glorious the harvest. Think about it, ladies and gentlemen. If I have a little plow or a little scoop or shovel or whatever, and I dig a little hole, and I plant my one seed, I'm going to get one crop. But if I got one of those giant machines that are just wrecking the earth and tilling the earth over and over again, and I'm plowing here, I'm plowing, and then all of a sudden I go over and I plant all these seeds, I get a much bigger harvest. Because the harder the conflict is, the more ground I break up, the more glorious the triumph is going to be. Thomas Paine. The more glorious your harvest is going to be. So don't be scared to get in there, ladies and gentlemen. Scared people don't make successful people. Most people are kept exactly where they are by the fear that is governing them. The fear of not having enough. The fear of not knowing what's next. The fear of not understanding everything. Don't let your fears govern you, because if your fear governs you, you don't move. You don't move. People in scary movies don't attack the villain because they're scared. They run the opposite way and then they end up dying. It isn't until somebody decides, wait a second, I have no more fear, I'm going to take you on, that the movie finally ends because somebody goes and gets this person. But people die and people are removed from the movie because they have fear first. Once you remove your fear, you can attack anything, ladies and gentlemen. I'm telling you right now, the only thing that keeps you away from going forward is you. So I need you to get into conflict, ladies and gentlemen. It's time to get into conflict, because no conflict, no harvest. And if you have conflict, then I can guarantee you, you will have something to harvest. But right now, are you having any conflict? Or is your life easy? Are you in conflict, or are things going exactly the way you want it? And if they are you going to the next level, or are you really cool where you're at right now? And that's what I want you to think about, ladies and gentlemen. That's all I have for you. I believe and I love in each and every single one of you. Thank you for being here. No conflict, no harvest. The harder the conflict, the more glorious the harvest. And conflict cannot survive without your participation. And we need the conflict for the harvest. So we need you to step up and do your part. Thank you very much. Have a blessed day.